is Chris Morgan. I work with the growth team here at Monograph. So excited to be your host today on the office stage. I hope you're having a great time at Section Cut. It's amazing to see all of you and to hear the fascinating stories from practice. Earlier, we heard from Tom Jacobs of Cruix Sexton Partners out in Chicago. Now we've got an amazing other success story. It's going to be a fireside chat with one of our beloved Monograph customers, Thomas Zoli of WorkshopAPD. In this session, we're going to hear from Thomas about how an efficient system helps to disseminate info upstream and downstream to ensure projects stay profitable and manageable. Thomas oversees all the firm's architectural output. He brings technical mastery of space, light, technology, and design to projects at WorkshopAPD. He was born to the building trades and spent his early years on job sites learning how to operate every piece of heavy machinery possible while honing an eye for building architecture and construction. Today, Thomas is known for developing strategic solutions for commissions of every type and scale. His design work and project management reflect incisiveness, practicality, and institutional knowledge, which are all critical to project delivery. Please join me in welcoming Thomas to the office stage.
How you doing?
Thomas, thank you so much.
Thanks for the fantastic intro, Chris.
Absolutely. I'd love if you could share with everybody just a little bit about the firm and its background at WorkshopAPD.
Sure. I kind of like to work backwards a little bit, like Memento. We've grown quite a bit since COVID, and we now are approximately a 70-person firm. Not long ago, we were about a 30-person firm in 2020 even, and the firm started off with my two partners. They founded the company around 1999, Andrew Kochin and Matt Berman, and I went to Lehigh College with them. So that's where we met years and years ago. But the office started small. It was kind of a boutique design firm in New York City, and we've grown substantially since then with multiple offices, multiple locations, and now we're up to about 70 people. But we've got four kind of verticals that we talk about mostly: luxury residential design, hospitality development, and we have a product company as well.
Fascinating. What is the current structure of the firm, especially with those different scales and typologies, like even including product design?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have four core businesses: a product business, an interior design business, a design house, and then an architecture business. And so all four of those businesses work together actually on a daily, seamless kind of way, so that we can deliver any different kind of project. And the interesting thing as well is that every project that we deliver, we are actually able to pull from any one of those different companies and the IP, the ideas from those companies. So we offer product in our hospitality design, and we offer the insight from luxury residential in our development work. All sorts of different cross-pollinations happen on a regular basis.
Interesting. So I'd love to hear about some more examples of how that starts to play out, like in the solutions that you discover as opportunities that if you were too focused, for example, on one of the typologies, you might miss the opportunity.
Yeah, on the micro scale, when you think about it on a small scale, we design a lot of custom furniture. We design a lot of custom pieces. We design a lot of custom pieces of architecture, custom pieces of interior design, and ultimately custom furniture and furnishings. And so, and all the way to fixtures. We have a plumbing series we're doing. We have a whole series of hardware that we do, and all of those items on a micro scale, all of those items can very specifically be used across any given platform, whether it's a luxury residential space, whether it's a hospitality space, amenity spaces, or even on larger developments where you can create sort of economies of scale that that are high design economies of scale that are otherwise just not available to certain projects.
So how do you trace in the operations of the firm, like trace and plan and track, like using resources, using different specialists across the firm to do the cross-pollination that you're describing?
Right. I mean, it's interesting. It's hard to show, but that's one of those sort of places. It's kind of like a niche space where Monograph actually helps. And I'm not trying to sort of throw in a loose plug, but Monograph is one of those packages where you can have 4 firms, you can have 4 verticals, you could probably have 12 firms and 12 verticals. It's one of those platforms that allows you to sort of graphically be able to sort of see and assess and react to all of that data in one location. And that's not easy. I mean, even with a really good spreadsheet guy, that's not easy. You know what I mean? And so it's something that we've struggled with over the years, to be able to get better and better at that sort of global deliverable, to be able to have people, anyone in my office, this is now, you're from your juniors to your most senior directors. You want people to be able to manage the message, to be able to eloquently speak about the scope of what we are capable of, and to be able to actually visually understand that. And the visually understand that is kind of one of the trickiest spots, right? You need to be able to not only have all the data, in a central location, but you have to be able to have your people be able to assess that data, see that data, be able to kind of react to it and understand the ramifications of it, and how there's so much integration there that's possible that if we miss that opportunity.
Interesting. I'd love to know, WorkshopAPD is a major, customer of ours at Monograph, and we were talking just before this started about how you've played a strong part in shaping and setting direction for certain parts of our product to give you more access to data. I'd love to know, like, what are some examples of that where just that dialogue between us and some new features that we've been able to, you've helped steer, and so that you could see more across the firm.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I love having, I'm going to call them esoteric conversations with Robert Yun, but I love just talking tech with him, and we've been doing that for a long time. It's something where when we first, I think because actually my partner Andrew went to Michigan for graduate school in architecture, as did Robert, and so there was a connection there that they made, and we Andrew felt like Monograph had the secret sauce to be able to fix the one of the main problems of people just not being able to continually assess and understand the data of managing a project, right? There's a lot of data that's involved in that, whether it's dollars, whether it's time, people, you name it, tasks, all of those things. He felt like, Robert and Monograph had kind of the secret weapon. And so we jumped in early, and we were really not only happy to do that, but we wanted to take what we were doing and sort of parlay it to the Monograph workspace. And what ended up happening there is that some things worked and some things didn't, right? And some things, the things that didn't work were generally minor. We could come up with workarounds, but we started, just generally speaking, creating long kind of lists of things that were either kind of on a wish list from a tech standpoint, or on a wish list from we'd love to be able to manage this. Originally there was a lot less integration with the invoicing that came quickly, on the front end with your rollout. But that was something that it in our world, because we immediately threw, 20 or 30 projects up on Monograph on day one, we immediately, had to figure out a way to take all the data that was inherently there and turn it into our invoicing in a seamless way. And I know you guys had always planned on doing that, and that happened pretty quickly, but that was just sort of one of the very early stages of that. And then that translated to Robert and I having a conversation at one point about the fact that, I remember this, we were sitting in person. This was back when you met in person. We were at the AIA, I think in Las Vegas. And I showed him, I had a printout, an 11 by 17, because it only fit on 11 by 17, a printout of our project management file. That was big Excel file that basically had every project and every kind of data point and upcoming deliverable date, the dollars and cents behind it, how much money it was going to make or lose, what the burn rate was, what the original fee was, everything else for any kind of project that we had in the office. We had them grouped by company and then grouped by project type. And I said, Robert, I need to stop using this spreadsheet. That's what Monograph has to do. Monograph has to be able to take what is in this spreadsheet and make it part of its core package. And a lot of it was there. A lot of what Monograph was already doing was there, but we had this, we couldn't kind of let go of what we were doing, this sort of master spreadsheet that I know most firms that start off as, boutique little firms, they have the same spreadsheet. It's formatted a little differently in some different colored cells, but it's all the same stuff. And a lot of times what the biggest failure is that the partners never share it with anybody else. And we started doing that early. We had to make some sort of structural changes in our office in the way that we operated. We had to spread the information around to be able to let our project managers kind of, rise up and be able to actually manage these jobs in a monetary way and a deliverable way. And so I showed him that, and it was really one of those kind of great moments. He looked at it and he was like, "Can I take a picture of that?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, but don't share it. There's real numbers on this." And it was one of those things that was, I think, the direction that you guys were already going, that the team was already going. It was from a tech standpoint. They wanted to be able to get AE firms in a position where you could eliminate some of the very static management tools that we've been using for a long time. That Excel document was only as effective as the last person who edited it and when they edited it. So if it was out of date, it was not useful. And every meeting that hinged on that, which was, all of your senior meetings, all of your really, your important meetings talking about project trajectory, right? Like what the project health, right? Those meetings are important, right? And if usually all your senior folks are there, all of your money is going into that meeting. You know what I mean? When you operate a business, when you own a business, like those meetings are expensive and they need to be productive. And when they're not productive, you're really just throwing money out the window. So that's what we don't use that spreadsheet anymore. we haven't used it in years. I'm not even positive I could find it, to tell you the truth. It's deep in some archive, but all of that kind of critical information now, we've created this great workflow internally. And the workflow is all Monograph. I mean, it's all like my business management guy, who is not an architect, he knows how to, use Monograph like he works inside the matrix. My senior project managers, they know how to put the projects in properly. We've asked, and you guys have very, very beautifully and successfully created templates for projects. That was one of the big workflows that we asked about early on, was to be able to create a project template so you didn't have to phase out every single project, from scratch every time. I don't have a hard count because Monograph hasn't added the ability for me to know how many projects are in my account instantly. Yeah, they employees I know instantly, but project number I don't have, and archived projects I don't have. So that's a good one to throw in there. But there's probably 80 or 90 live projects in Monograph right now, and we wanted to. And Chris, you got to interrupt me. I know I go on too long, but we added so many first thing, like because we switched over from I believe it was Maven Link or Big Time, one of these other platforms that was significantly less useful for the AE space. We put in a lot of old projects. We put in every live project, obviously, but there were a lot of projects that even if they only had a couple months left of billing, we still moved them over because we needed to track people's time. And as a time tracker, it was the perfect way to get people kind of integrated and get people in a position where they understand how to, continue to use the platform in a more, robust way.
Well, that's amazing hearing that story. I can just imagine that 11 by 17 sheet and across like 80, 90 projects just seems inconceivable.
It's absurd.
We've got a question from the audience here. Do employees work within the different businesses, like across each other? For example, could they work in the interior design business and the product business too?
They generally no. They are only employed by one business, but everyone works with everyone together. So all of my staff will work across all platforms. The projects are multi-platform. So I have any given architecture job the contract might be in the architecture business, but I have an interior design component to it, which potentially can be a separate part of the contract. But the ID folks work on it, the architects work on it, the product people will work on it if the budget can allow, and then so everybody can kind of work. And obviously, the admin team works on a little bit of everything.
Interesting. You're describing this business management team member who works inside of Monograph. What is your kind of weekly cadence with them, the team, and yourself, and across those 4 business units? Just I'd love if you could share with everybody how you sort of structure a cadence around this kind of data and how that information flows and adapts on a weekly basis.
Sure. Well, my business manager who takes care of all the billing, he understands how to set up the projects. He understands how to use the projects. He knows how to extract the data he needs, and he knows how to make sure all the time capabilities are all up to date, everything else. But he's primarily focused on the invoicing side of the equation, right? Making sure the data looks correct on the front end, and then the invoicing side of the product. My management people, my actual architecture management and interior design management people, they actually work more on the setting up the actual projects within Monograph, and then allocating the staff and time and the scope of the actual project. And that's part of all of our studio meetings, big, small, and different, all of our senior staff meetings, we always have Monograph open, right? We actually drive those meetings using Monograph. There was even a Google Sheets that we used for a little while just to kind of track kind of really, really 10,000 foot kind of facts for any given job to make sure we didn't let things fall through the cracks. And even that's actually slowly phasing its way out because all of it's being captured in Monograph.
Well, Thomas, that's really cool to hear. Really cool to hear your perspective on this. We really value WorkshopAPD as a customer. Always hear WorkshopAPD at some point during every day at work. So
that's great.
It's been such a pleasure to talk with you briefly, share just a little bit of the highlights. I know that there's so much more to discuss.
Sure,
Thomas, but I really appreciate your time here and sharing your insights.
Thanks so much, Chris, for having me, and look forward to our continuing to work together.